This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
We speak with a political party that was present at the 2023 general elections, the People's Redemption Party. It had as its forerunner, its contestant in the presidential elections, a popular name as far as Nigerian history is concerned, the name Abiola. But no, it wasn't MKO Abiola, it was Kola Abiola, still of the MKO dynasty. And while this political party did not clinch the seats, the central seat that it was aiming for, it continues to talk about the issues, it continues to talk about its drive towards a people-centered Nigeria. This morning, we have with us a representative of the PRP. We have Mr. Babatunde Ali. Mr. Babatunde Ali is the PRP's National Secretary, and he joins us as our newsmaker this week. Mr. Ali, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning, crew members, and good morning, Nigeria.
You are welcome into it. Mr. Ali, just to begin this conversation, can you give us a sense of what your political party's ideology is and how it differs from everything else that we are seeing with the PDP and the other political parties that are existing in Nigeria at the moment?
Thank you so much. The People's Redemption Party was founded in October 1978 by the late Aminu Kano and a host of others, purely to represent the downtrodden, to represent the voiceless, to speak and to defend the defenseless in Nigeria. And that was definitely the point that informed these principles. PRP have 5 basic principles, and the 5 is geared towards a human. 2 specifically, and the 3rd one, when I mention it, you will still know that is geared towards human being. The first one is the value and the equality of human being. If you are talking on rule of law, this is where you have it. Nobody should be above the law, whether in value and whether in equality. And equality means equity. In assessing the general welfare of the land, that is what that stands for. The second one is the power of the people. A leader that thinks he's leading when no one is following is definitely strolling without knowing. When the people want you, you are there for them as a leader. And let me mark this, Stephen. We in the PRP leadership consider ourselves as servants of the people. Equality, 1, and value, number 2, power. This power is also exemplified in the place of election. So PRP does not subscribe to vote buying and all these manipulations you see out there, whether by past or even present government. Number 3, PRP believes so much in the ability of the state not to hinder investment, but to put control. Oh, some people have criticized us about this. Oh, you want to move Nigeria towards communism? No, that is not what we are talking about. But we are saying that although you may say that government do not have responsibility in business, but government truly have responsibility in business, because governance itself is business. So when you have people who do not have a mind on how to lead resources in the realm of economy, this is what this place is talking about. That the government of PRP is interested in the economy of the state to the level of control. You just can't bring out anything and slam price on top of it. Multiple taxations and all those things should be scrapped. That is what we are talking about. The number 4th principle of PRP is true, genuine federalism. I won't hack on that, Stephen. You and your crew, you already know what that means. Whether we have federalism today or not, Nigerians can tell for themselves. And that is where you have this issue. You see, agitation primarily is a function of inequality. A family where a child sees, for example, if you have a ward living with you, and the soap, the food, everything your family used to eat, his or her own is separated. Food without protein and no manner of things. You are already telling that child, although it is not to be encouraged, you are already telling that child to steal. The 5th one, PRP believed in total liberation from imperialism. Today, our government, they take loans that they put caveat on those loans on what they should not use it for. Loan cannot be used to fund education. It cannot be used to fund agriculture. And Nigerian government is putting hands in these loans that are anti-people, that this nation will be paying for in 1,500 years to come. This is what we believe. It's not that we do not believe in Commonwealth of Nations around the world.
Mr. Ali, you were completing a thought on the last P, which PRP believes in. Let's wrap up with that first before we move the conversation further.
So PRP do not believe in the control of international monetary funds and loans from World Bank that puts the nation in danger. PRP do not believe in it, and this is what that portion of the Constitution talks about. And our programs as an ideology, we do not believe in imperialism. So, and whether in a straight or neo-colonialism, our party does not believe in it.
Let me come in and ask you, I mean, from what you've listed, the principles that drive your party, it seems like you're displeased or you don't agree with the line that the All Progressives Congress has towed, not just in this current administration, but also from the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. Am I correct to assume so?
We have released minimum 3 press releases since this government came to power. And we have pointed out issues that this government should immediately look into. Look at where a nation must plan. A government came to power, and the very first day, inaugural speech of Mr. President. The question is this: until you are on that seat, radio now, until you are on that seat, there are things you won't know. Mr. President had not resumed in office one day. He had not signed a single paper as a president of Nigeria, and he took off subsidy. Now, the question we should ask the APC is this: what is the baseline that they base their action on? What are the researches that went into place? What are the plans? Because research will inform policy making. Policy discussions is what research will bring. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, you know what our research institutions has been turned to. I mean, the universities and the polytechnics. The other day, 8 months, they were not in section. What are the researches that went into play before APC removed subsidy?
Well,
we believe, yes,
if I may,
subsidy has been fraud.
I mean, as the facts stand, subsidy was actually removed, or the eventual removal was done by the previous administration. So there would be questions around why it wasn't the Buhari administration that was tackled for the removal of subsidy. And the questions which you are raising, which are legitimate questions, it seems like that's the administration that we should have put those questions to, and not this one.
It's okay. It's okay.
Mr. Ali,
let's continue with our conversation.
No, Mr. Ali, should we have criticized, or should the PRP have criticized the previous administration as against the administration that is led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Repeatedly, we don't believe in criticism. We believe in pointing out recommendations. And when we raise the issue on how the past government under President Muhammadu Buhari was borrowing money, and the quick and the speedy approval the Senate was given to it under Dr. Lawan. When PRP pointed it, do you know what the former Senate president says? He said, we are rabble rousers. That is to tell you how unfriendly, how inhospitable these fellows had to recommendations of seemingly opposing views, which is meant for the good of this nation. He called PRP rabble rousers. We pointed it out repeatedly, particularly on their loan tracks. Today we know where we are. We have always spoken. Probably your radio station have not considered us as one of the people you'll be talking to before.
I mean, sir, your presidential, your 2023 presidential candidate and vice presidential candidate were on a program that we partnered with during the campaign season. So we certainly do keep our eye out on the PRP. We had that conversation air live on our station in, I think this was it November or December last year. But Mr. Ali, I'd like to ask you about the current predicaments we find ourselves in. As you know, our country is facing everything from the insecurity crises across different phases to the food security crisis. These are all things, a very unfortunate situation, really. I wonder if you see the room for some sort of collaboration between some of the brilliant minds in your party and the ones in the current government, and just the possibility around that collaboration.
Thank you. After election is governance, and governance is for the people. If the current government sees it or deems it okay, good, and in the interest of this nation to listen to the voice of voice or recommendations, I won't call it voice of opposition. Nobody in this land and nobody in the PRP is an opposition to Nigeria state. We are open. I had once said it of the PRP and execute the principles in that paper. Particularly now in this their own case, principle number 4, which is true and genuine federalism. Most of our troubles will be gone, Stephen. Most of our troubles will be gone. This self-inflicted pain of not being able to trust one another. You are talking about food security. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Ali.
Now, you mentioned food security. Let me touch on it and how the division in the Nigeria states, turning people against themselves in the name of politics, has impaired badly on that one. I come from a small town in the southern part of Ondo State today. And in those days, we have a particular settlement in that town. It's the Hausa settlement. They built no house of their own. They live with our people. Our fathers traveled, left us, left our mothers with them. There was no problem. You will never hear that there was a crime or a crisis in Sabo until Nigerian politicians divided us against ourselves. We began to see Igbo as Igbo, Yoruba as Yoruba, and Hausa as Hausa, no longer as Nigerians. Should we have true federalism? Should there be removed this feeling that you are using my...
Mr. Ali,
and when agitations goes down... Mr.
Ali, I apologize for interrupting you. We lost the connection with you for a moment there.
Okay. I'll kind of rewind shortly because of time. But let me summarize it this way. If the feeling of being subjugated at the benefit of another is removed, insecurity in Nigeria would have gone down 50%. Now, let me back it up with a bit of an explanation. Nigeria, even till today, although there is already a conversation around it, state police, we do not have. When the Southwest came up with Amotekun, there was noise everywhere. When the Southeast came up with Ebubeagu, there was noise everywhere. Why? Why don't we have community policing? How can a man from Zamfara be sent to the forest of Ondo to come and police it? It's not possible. And these are part of the effect of not running a genuine federalism. Because under that, there will be state police. Resource control will come into it. Let me give you this an example. Like I said the other time about a child in the house that is being subjugated at the expense of yours. The moment a people feels that you are treating them badly, if you ever have a child that grew up in a polygamous environment, and we are predominantly from that, once you have a people who feels that your mother is being treated better than their own mother, you have already brought division into the family. And that is what the APC and even the PDP government began to do. But APC government now took it to a crescendo. You saw what happened under General Buhari, where practically all the heads of the security apparatus of the country are from the same geopolitical zone. Who does that? Who does that? And now you are talking about food insecurity insecurity leading to food insecurity. When people cannot both, in those days, those Hausa and the Northerners in our community were a major workforce in our farming produce.
Mr. Ali, if I may ask you, sir. Apologies, if I may ask you. I mean, I hear you when you raise the region, the geopolitical region of the military chiefs under the Buhari administration. Although I do wonder if you raising it does not counter the initial point you made about how politicians used those ethnic differences as a part of a political weapon, if you like. The military itself is supposed to be an institution of a state that does not look at those differences whatsoever and simply is about, promotions based on how you deserve it. So don't you think that raising the point just counters what you said earlier?
Then I should explain a point to you. I was not talking about the regime of Muhammadu Buhari as a military man. He's the immediate past president.
Yes.
And I'm talking about what APC government did under him. In fact, I will say this, and you can put me on record. Just anything can happen under the government of APC. It's so unpredictable. It's under the government of APC, you will see a court of law give a ruling, and another court in the same jurisdiction giving a counter. In the same claim, you won't see such. And it's under them, and under their watch it happened, and they did not correct it. So I spoke under him, not as a military man, but as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Mr. Ali, as we wrap this up, how can the PRP engage more going forward across all levels of government?
I can hear you. I didn't hear the last comment you made so that I can respond appropriately.
Right. So as we wrap up this conversation, I'm asking, how can the PRP engage more across all levels of government moving forward?
Our apologies, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that the technical issues we're experiencing will not allow us to complete this conversation. However, we will bring you Mr. Babatunde Ali's final thoughts, especially on that particular question, at a later time. Mr. Babatunde Ali, our newsmaker, is the National Secretary, Publicity Secretary of the People's Redemption Party. That's the PRP, joining us to discuss pertinent issues across the country, not just in the political space, but in governance and development. That's the Newsmaker here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Stick around. We've got a short break and Community Watch comes up next.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.